Our today's topic is law of acceptance. I believe that today's topic will change lives of many. I too am very eager to know more about this topic. What is the law of acceptance? What is non-acceptance? What is over-acceptance? And we are fortunate to have Miss Rani Krishnan to deal with this wonderful topic. I am also eager to know more about today's speaker. So I request her to take the charge and please introduce herself. Rani ma'am, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle. Jai Sachidanand, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity today to present with you this topic that I have truly, I'm still exploring and still learning so much about it. It's a very vast topic. But I'm just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I think many of you know my father, Dr. Rade. He, while he is no longer with us, he was very passionate about the Holistic Science Charitable Research Foundation and its mission of spreading these messages and these concepts that will, increase harmony throughout the world, will improve our mental, physical, spiritual well-being. And he and the blessings of PPS Kanu Dadaji, Sri Kanu Dadaji, bless this whole initiative. So just to give a background on me, I'm coming in sort of new to this, but this was all the types of topics that my dad would talk about regularly. And I think he would be very proud to see that we are all convened every Saturday. So I'm currently based in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, but I work for the Center for Disease Control here in Atlanta as well. So I'm often traveling to other countries to kind of help them prepare for health emergencies. So that's a little bit about my professional background. And before I launch any more into the presentation, I just wanted to wish everyone that's joining maybe from South India a happy Tamil New Year. Today is Vishu also for us. So it's an auspicious day. So with that, I will go ahead and get started on the presentation. I will be turning off my video just to conserve bandwidth, but I'll join back on when we have our discussion. So first, what I would like to do is ask all of you, and feel free to think about this. When you think of the concept of acceptance, what images or words come to mind? When you think of acceptance, what words or images come to your mind? And you can either type this in the chat or just freely give an answer. So let's see if anyone put anything. Okay.
Participants, please unmute yourself. What images or words come to your mind?
Okay, I see.
Murji ma'am says,
hi, good morning, Jai Sachidanand, everybody. Good morning from California.
Welcome, Chela ma'am. Welcome. Very nice to see you.
Nice to be here, and it's such an honor to have the opportunity to listen to Ms. Rani. So when I think of acceptance, I see harmony, I see peace, I see connectedness. Just it brings images of a fluid and flowing communication and collaboration between living beings.
Thank you, Shaila. That is beautiful and so well put. You're definitely spot on in this presentation. We're going to talk about what acceptance is, the different types of acceptance, this state of harmony and interconnectedness that we can experience when we practice acceptance. And we'll also talk about what acceptance is not, but excellent answer. Does anyone else have any input to add to that?
May I, ma'am?
Yes, please, sir.
When I close my eyes and think about acceptance, I clearly see my mother stretching hands as if calling me to enter her lap.
That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. Yes, and that compassion and acceptance, that non-judgment, like only a mother could have towards their child. That's beautiful. Thank you. I see Nimesh and Bino have their hands up.
Yeah.
Jay Satchidanand.
Jason.
I think already the answer is given. I agree with, and that makes sense to me. Just to add one more thought here, I think there's a connection to knowledge as well, because I think if you have an understanding of like the law of nature, what is reality, all of these concepts, then this non-judgmental aspect, the harmony and acceptance, all of those things naturally follow.
That is, Nimesh, very profound observation, and you are absolutely correct. If you don't have that understanding, it really is awareness. It doesn't really change into or transform into acceptance. And so you're absolutely right. Having that understanding plus the awareness then brings you to that state of acceptance. So excellent. So we will continue on. Now, first, I'm going to just start with the Webster's dictionary definition of acceptance. This will be different from what we are talking about today, but typically, or in your standard definition, acceptance is an action, typically, of consenting to receive or undertake something. So maybe this is something like you're undertaking a new job offer or opportunity, or maybe you are also acceptance speech, like you win an award, you do an acceptance speech. The second definition is the process of being received as adequate or suitable. So something is acceptable to you. It's acceptable to your standard. You're accepted into a university because you meet a certain standard. That is another definition of acceptance. And finally, the last one, and this one ties into a lot of what Dada Bhagwan talks about, but it's agreement with the belief of an idea, opinion, or explanation. So it is things like accepting teachings of the church or the temple or the mosque, whatever faith you may belong to, or philosophy. This is where you're having acceptance of those ideas, that understanding the world through that concept. So that is what we talk about, is just the literal definition of acceptance. And now I'm going to talk about psychological acceptance. So this is one type of acceptance. And this, in the field of psychology, is described as active embracing of subjective experiences, and particularly the distressing experiences. So the idea here is not that you tolerate. Acceptance is not the same. We sometimes use those words interchangeably, acceptance and tolerance, but they're actually different. Tolerate, sometimes you're putting up with it, but underlyingly you have a negative opinion about the situation. When you are accepting, you are embracing that whole experience in its totality and with presence. So you're not resisting, you're not forming an opinion. And that is what in psychology they define as acceptance. Okay, so when they did a meta-analysis in 2019 of the relationship between acceptance-based therapies and the experience of distress that was experienced in people that had cancer. So what they looked at is they said, okay, 40% of cancer patients suffer from things like mood disorders, maybe PTSD from just the diagnosis. They may have elevated levels of physical distress, emotional distress, because of what they are experiencing, just through treatment, through their diagnosis that, they may or may not survive. When they're faced with those things, they experience, extra kind of distress from these disorders. So how the researchers kind of looked at this is they said they would define acceptance as a willingness to be present with one's illness, and all the thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations that they were experiencing without judging or making unnecessary attempts to control them. So what they did say was acceptance was not helplessly saying, oh, I have cancer, and going into a state of panic and helplessness. That is not what they defined as an acceptance. And they also did not define acceptance as having that fighting spirit of, I will beat this no matter what, I will beat this, and having that fearless optimism. They actually found that when patients who had that attitude of I will win, or I will beat this, I will conquer this, and they didn't, they succumbed to the illness, they actually experienced more distress, even though they were, adhering to positive thinking. It was not considered the definition of acceptance, which is more of a not judging all the different sensations and experiences due to this illness. So what they did find in this study and this meta-analysis is that when patients practice things like mindfulness, meditation, and simply observed and accepted whatever they were experiencing, ups, downs, joys, sadness, pain, nausea, all the physiological symptoms of treatment, they did find that there was a relationship between that and a more positive outcome, that the patients who practiced those types of beliefs had less distress, physical distress, mental distress, psychological distress. So that was really kind of profound to see that finding in the study, that just by practicing acceptance, they had impacts or outcomes on their health. Okay, another term that we often hear is radical acceptance. This is very popular also in psychology, also used for behavioral therapies. And radical acceptance rests on letting go of the illusion of control and a willingness to notice and accept things just as they are right now without judging. And if you see here this visual, what it really shows you is when you have pain and non-acceptance, when you have resistance to whatever that situation is, you are out of balance. You will have suffering, okay? When you accept whatever that situation is and see it as an opportunity to practice non-judgment, practice observation of thoughts, feelings, speech, whatever, this actually opens up a window to change that suffering, to come out of that. So when we talk about non-accepting, what we're thinking is like over on this side, okay? The fact is it's raining outside. That acceptance is just saying, yep, it is raining outside. Non-acceptance is, I don't like the rain. Why does it have to rain? I hate when it rains. If it wasn't raining, my day would be good. It's giving opinions. It's distorting the reality of what is by putting your own filter on it, by saying it is good or it is bad, and then having subsequent opinions. Dada Bhagwan says everything that happens is correct. If we have no knowledge of all the workings, that are happening in the universe, so how do we know what what is happening is good or bad. Who are we to say that, right? We have no concept of how the world is even working, who we are in this world, and yet we pass judgment on all types of circumstances and situations. So what acceptance teaches you is let go of those opinions and those judgments of a particular such situation and just experience the moment. Okay. Another concept you may have also heard about is what we call self-acceptance. And self-acceptance is actually unconditional acceptance of yourself, including the positive and negative qualities, traits, and tendencies. So if you look at acceptance, it's very in the middle. It's very balanced. Dada says it's like equanimous, it's a neutral kind of experience. So self-acceptance is neither self-loathing, where you actually have hatred to yourself or your qualities or your character traits. And it's not overly accepting everything about yourself, self-love, which self-love is important, but this might be a state in which you are blind to your faults or your misperceptions or misconceptions. So self-acceptance actually opens up this opportunity to look at both your positive and negative traits. And what research has shown is by being neutral and kind of encompassing or embracing all of those parts of yourself, there have been improved physical and emotional outcomes. It leads to improved self-esteem, which can actually have improved brain function, improved relationships and empathy. So earlier on, Shaila talked about, connectedness. When you understand your good and bad traits, you also open up the ability to be more empathetic that other people also have good and bad traits, right? So you start to see that we are not all different. You are able to kind of accept the good and the bad in both yourself and others. So it actually helps improve your relationships with others. This self-acceptance also gives us an opportunity to correct our mistakes. So not only when you are aware of your flaws, you have an opportunity to course correct, to say, please give me the strength not to keep repeating this mistake. And you have an ability to kind of have an improvement of your life, from maybe patterns or habits or things that you were blind to. Once you become aware is when you have the opportunity to change those. And eventually self-acceptance will help free you from suffering, because you also start to become more detached as you objectively look at the positive and negative within yourself. So I will stop here to see are there any questions so far about anything that's been covered? Okay. Hearing none and seeing no hands, I will go on to talk a little bit about, very briefly, a consciousness researcher by the name of Dr. David Hawkins. And he was a medical doctor, but he actually researched and made what is called this map of consciousness, where he took these emotions and assigned them an energetic value. So if you look at the value here, shame is one of the probably darkest or heaviest emotions. So it has like the lowest vibrational value, up to things like enlightenment, which he rates as the absolute. So he put it as 1000 on that measurement or the scale of consciousness. He also outlined predominant emotional states that are being experienced when you are in the state of shame. For example, you may be experiencing a lot of humiliation. You may have a miserable view of life. You may even want to self-harm, eliminate, remove yourself from the situation. So that is what we're talking about, the vibrations that follow. What I want to bring your attention to here is what Dr. Hawkins talks about acceptance. This very much aligns with what Dada has talked about and what our participants mentioned earlier on the call, that the view of life becomes harmonious. You are in a position where you are starting to experience a lot of forgiveness, even of your own misperceptions and opinions about what is happening. It is only through forgiveness that you can start moving to these other states. It's only by accepting responsibility for your own actions, saying that the world you are experiencing is a product of what you put into it. So if you accept responsibility, you are wholly and solely responsible for your actions. You have transcended into this acceptance phase, and this will start to bring you into your spiritual phase of the emotional paradigms. So I just wanted to kind of show you here on this scale where acceptance is. It is in the realm of reason and integrity. So when we think of over acceptance, what we're saying is you blindly are accepting everything. There's no real rationale of or proactiveness of what the situation is. You're just kind of unaware and blindly accepting all of that. That's not necessarily acceptance. What we're saying here is there must be some type of analysis that's happening, some type of examination to understand and be aware before you can reach into this realm of acceptance. And the process here is transcendent. So like I said, this is a transformative process. Acceptance will bring you to higher states and energetic levels as you practice it, but it is something that needs to be practiced. So when Dada Bhagwan talks about the law of acceptance, he says it's a process of internal change used to correct external situations. So the aim is to accept all individuals and situations either with equanimity or gracefully. And while this seems so simple, it is, at least from my personal experience, very difficult to be able to do that. You must not only have awareness, but you must also be extremely grounded and centered in your understanding. So I thought this was a beautiful quote, and I will just maybe have would somebody like to volunteer to read the quote?
I can read, Rani.
Okay, thank you, Shaila.
Thank you. Law of acceptance. Acceptance is a process of internal change used to correct external situations. The aim is to accept all individuals and situations either with equanimity or gracefully.
And Shaila, can you read this here under the picture? Are you able to see that?
Let me turn my phone.
Okay.
What is nature's language? What appears to be justice or injustice by worldly viewpoints is all justice in nature's language. So accept that whatever has happened is just and correct. Even if you are not ready to believe, you will have to accept it after going through agonies. Dada Bhagwan.
So, I mean, what a profound statement. You can spend, I think, like a whole day just breaking down this quote. But thank you, Shaila, for reading that. it really talks about what we said earlier. What appears to be justice or injustice by worldly viewpoints is all justice in nature's language. That again, that everything that happens is correct. I thought I saw a hand up, but no, maybe not. So everything that happens is correct. And if you just think about that in your daily life, I mean, how many of you truly live by this? I will tell you, I do not. I have a lot of work to do in this area of, you know, anytime you ask yourself, why is this happening? You have come out of any acceptance. You are, if you accept, the first thing is everything that happens is correct and just as it is. And there is a lot of power in that practice, in the state of acceptance. There's a lot of power. So again, I just want to reiterate, it is not helplessness. It's not rolling over and succumbing and saying, oh, you know, woe is me, this is the cards I've been dealt and I can't do anything about it. That is not acceptance. That's like, that is more, you know, playing a victim or helplessness. And acceptance, again, it's an action, it's a process, and it is transformative. So just want to reiterate that point. Excuse me. Okay, I love this quote because I thought it really does tie into both what Dada was talking about in his quote and also the consciousness map that Dr. David Hawkins developed, which is life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know this is the experience you need? Because this is the experience you are having at this moment. So again, everything that happens is correct. It is just, and it is precise and exact. When we think that why is this happening, or we don't need this, or we define, you know, what we are willing and won't accept, then you again come into a state of suffering. And so you may pass your whole day with tons of resistance. And Dada has said that the more you have that resistance, that trying to control things, giving opinions, saying no, resisting, you will have issues with body, mental problems, physical problems. It doesn't help you. You hold on to things. You don't let go of them. It actually has negative impacts on your physical and emotional states as well. And so by accepting that everything that happens is correct, you are starting to transform your life. So acceptance, again, it is an active process. What you're looking for here is you want to accept responsibility for actions, for your actions, whether they are good or bad, without shame or guilt. Okay, it's already happened. So at this point, don't hold on to it. Don't beat yourself up over something you may have done. The more that festers, the more physical, emotional suffering, the more mental suffering you have. But it's also holding you back spiritually. So accepting responsibility, you're wholly and solely responsible for yourself. Courage, through accepting responsibility for your actions, you then start to develop courage to face and correct your mistakes. So if you think back to self-love, self-loathing, and then in the middle is self-acceptance. Self-acceptance gives you the ability to see your positive and negative traits and the courage to face your mistakes and, more importantly, correct them, which Dada has given us the tools to be able to do that. acceptance is essential for change. Again, it's not passive. It is not overly being accepting and not doing it, not having some type of active process. So it is essential for change. It's essential for transformation. The more you practice acceptance, the more you will experience gratitude for the present moment and all that it is teaching you. And that also comes from Dada's book on the secrets of holistic living. The science of holistic living is you also cultivate other qualities, such as gratitude. You start to look at bad situations and be thankful that you got to learn that lesson, that you were released from that karma, so you will get to a point through practice of acceptance where you will be grateful for everything good and bad, So this prayer here, it's very well known. It's a huge prayer in the recovery community, especially with people who have experienced addiction, have lost maybe everything to addiction to alcohol or drugs or any addiction, gambling. But this is one of the first prayers that they teach people in recovery. And the prayer is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So there are times when you cannot change your circumstances, but you can have the serenity to accept your current circumstance. And so this kind of puts you into that state of humility where you're asking God, for strength and wisdom to know what can I change and what can I not. And acceptance, as Dada says, it's an internal process. And so that is something you can change. You can always change your internal process and look at, how did I react to this situation? You may not be able to change the external process, but internally, over time, Dada has said the law of acceptance will help improve external outcomes. So that can be in your business, in relationships, in job, world, studies, through practicing acceptance. Okay. I would like to spend a little bit of time, again, talking about acceptance as the process that happens to us. And some of you may be familiar with this model, but it is, it's again, used in psychology. It's called the acceptance cycle, but I feel like it very much relates to what we're talking about today. And the acceptance cycle is basically telling people that you have to go through kind of these different phases. When you have a big shock in your life, you have to go through these different phases to come out at the end state of hope and acceptance and look at new ways of perhaps doing something. So let's say you experience a big loss in your life. This could be a job loss. Like for me in 2020, I lost a lot of friends. I lost one of our very close Mahatma friend, Amit Patel. He passed away. Then I lost my father in May of 2020. Then 13 days later, I lost Kanu Dadaji. And so on and so forth. I felt like there was more loss. We lost another Mahatma close to our age, Dimple Amin. So that year made me really have to go through this cycle, like I said, I worked for CDC. At the same time, I was also busy responding to COVID. So my work life was just, insane. And then to experience loss after loss after loss. certainly went through these phases of shock and disbelief, and definitely went into denial where I was throwing myself into work because that was something that was immediate, that, it hadn't really happened. I kept feeling like everyone is still alive, and this never happened. Definitely had so much, I would say, fear, anger, and anxiety. I would say that these things, because of Dada's teachings, these effects were a lot less. They could have been a lot more profound and lasted for a lot longer. But I think here in this phase, I would say that this is where there was the least acceptance of just overall the situation, the timing, of all of this happening at once. All of that built fear, anger, anxiety. It also really brought me to have to face my own mortality and the fact that you don't know when you're going to die. You are not guaranteed another day tomorrow. And that uncertainty and reality, it did initially, there was fear and anxiety that came up around it. But only through time, through satsang, through things like these webinars, through this community, I was able to pass through a lot of these sadness, passiveness, and really come to a place of acceptance. And where that took me was coming to a state of gratitude where, yes, Dada is no longer with us physically. My father is no longer with us physically. Our friends are no longer with us physically, but their lessons and what they have taught, that's our responsibility to take that in, let them live on through those lessons, through those teachings, and adopt new ways of living, putting more of a priority on spiritual growth and development, putting more priority on, you are not guaranteed, another day. So each day, make it count, put stock into your spiritual bank account, as well as your, dealing with your regular day-to-day duties. So I just wanted to walk you through that cycle and tell you that even with acceptance, you will experience these emotions. It's natural. These emotions and experiences are just as natural as acceptance. It's all part of that experience. But if you start to apply the idea of acceptance and neutrality when you go through and look at who is experiencing these emotions, it will help put you faster into that state of acceptance. So just to recap a little, what acceptance is, it is a technique of internal change to correct external situations like health, employment, and relationship. And that is coming straight from Dada's text, his words. It is rooted in presence. It's rooted in now. If you are experiencing fear or anxiety, that's because you're thinking about the future. You are not accepting the present moment for what it is. You're not experiencing that moment if you're worried about the future. If you are focused on the past, and you are rooted in guilt and shame, again, you are not accepting what is happening to you right in this moment. Acceptance is cultivated through practice, through things like meditation, mindfulness, internal analysis of a situation, reflection. It is the opposite of reaction. If you're reacting to something, that tells you I'm not in a state of acceptance. Acceptance is powerful. It should not be mistaken for helplessness It does not mean accept, people breaking the law or committing traumatic things to other people. That is not what acceptance is. It is a powerful and transformative agent that helps you adapt and grow spiritually. Acceptance is very balanced, it's neutral and objective. And through that neutral objectivity, you actually expand your compassion. So Chandrakant uncle said in the beginning that when he thinks of acceptance, he thinks of his mom, smiling, inviting everyone in with loving arms. That is that acceptance, that compassion that comes with being neutral and objective and accepting all. It is essential to healing. So as you saw in that change cycle, the cycle of acceptance, if you are still in the fear and anger and all those phases, you are slowly making progress. The faster you are to accepting the situation, the quicker you are to kind of healing whatever trauma or life situation that you may have experienced. So it is essential to healing also because it involves forgiveness and understanding. As we said earlier, this results in gratitude and compassion. Those are sort of products that happen through practicing acceptance. It is the ultimate analysis and inward searches for causes. Dada says that by looking at a situation and analyzing, you will be able to look at the root cause of the suffering. And that can only happen through acceptance of the present situation. And it is the aim of all meditative practices, is to be able to accept whatever is being experienced in that present moment. Okay, a little bit about non-acceptance. So we talked about what acceptance is. Non-acceptance is reactionary effect of over-acceptance. So, and I know if Lala uncle is on the line, if he also wants to clarify a little bit of this, but the explanation that was provided is that over-acceptance is not really rationally looking at the situation. It's just taking everything passively. And so non-acceptance is actually an effect of over-acceptance, of not questioning, or not even being cognizant of the fact that we are suffering because of our own opinions. Non-acceptance also is about giving opinions, likes and dislikes about people, about a situation. It actually just sprouts more causes for later down the line. It actually will just continue your suffering and cycles of birth and death by giving opinions. It usurps your energy. And Dada explained it by it causes external and internal friction. So you're externally, something is happening, but internally, by not accepting it resisting it, you create a friction. It actually reduces your physical energy levels. It affects your immunity, and it can lead to disease. And I have experienced that, specifically with stress, with the workplace. Non-acceptance causes suffering, as we talked about, in multiple ways. It stifles growth and transformation. It's rooted in fear and anxiety, and it's really dealing with the ego, because again, it's who has the opinion that the rain is bad or the sun is bad, that's what you should be looking at, and not over accepting your opinions about the rain, the sun, and the workings of the natural world. Another type of acceptance is secondary acceptance. So Dada has said if we cannot change our non-acceptance, then we should gracefully accept the result of our non-acceptance to reduce the damage. And this is called secondary acceptance. So there are times where no matter what is happening, you are still there is still resistant. Maybe it's a person that you don't get along with, and no matter what you try to do, or how much you're meditating or asking for forgiveness, that I want to see this person as, not having any faults or giving negative opinions, you may still be having those stubborn opinions and that resistance or non-acceptance. But you must then also acknowledge that you, because of your non-acceptance, are facing these particular results or these particular situations. And so if you gracefully acknowledge that, hey, I'm not being accepting of this person, I'm not accepting this situation, give me the strength to resolve this, to do this, to get over this and accept it. At least by acknowledging that, you are saying, okay, that is secondary acceptance, that some things may be harder for us to accept. That is due to many past opinions and, lifetimes of things we've accumulated. And so for those, we have to ask for strength to overcome, but we have to accept that right now I have not fully embraced this situation. Excuse me. Okay. One thing that many of our previous presenters have talked about is acceptance of others' beliefs, values, viewpoints. This has been brought up in many of our HSCR seminar topics about accepting, that everyone is correct by their viewpoint. Religiously, we should not, as per the 9 diamonds, the 9 dictates of Dada, we should not find fault or insult any religion, any people from any particular religious group or sect. So, again, even in Christianity, it says for God, in Romans 2:11, for God shows no partiality. And that's what we mean by acceptance. There's no like, dislike, because all God's creatures are created in his image, right? That's what the Christian faith teaches. So automatically that tells you there's acceptance of all living beings. So again, as Dada has beautifully described it, it's accepting all individuals with equanimity, so no partiality, and gracefully, and fully embracing that everyone is correct according to their viewpoint. This, I think, is probably one of many of us, me personally, a large point of non-acceptance comes from maybe viewpoints of people around us or even in the media. And when I am not accepting of the fact that they are correct according to their viewpoint, I have fully come out of that state of acceptance, and now there will be suffering. There will be some internal suffering because I've given an opinion about this person's viewpoint. Acceptance is the essence of nonviolence and compassion, and that is what Dada has said. That's why so much of the 9 diamonds are about not wanting to hurt, not wanting to have thoughtful words, deeds, or actions towards others, their egos, their viewpoints, their religious beliefs. That is all acceptance, because it is actually practicing nonviolence if you are practicing acceptance. It's a measure of our grace and culture and creativity. It is cultivated by strong auto-suggestion to accept. It requires a patient effort over prolonged duration. So that is again quoted from Dada Bhagwan. It is a process, and it is an ongoing, never-ending process, and we have to ask for strength to keep showing up for that process. Just to recap a few things about non-acceptance. If you are experiencing fear, that is a form of non-acceptance, especially if it's in response to uncertainty. So remember, if you are worrying about the future, if you're afraid of a particular outcome that has not happened, you have not accepted that the law of nature is to constantly be in motion. It's to change things that are, everything is temporary, everything is a state of change. And so nothing is permanent except, well, that's another topic. But what this is saying is, when you are uncomfortable with the uncertainty of life, you have not accepted the concept that that is life. Life is uncertain and is all about change. Non-acceptance of people and circumstances leads to suffering on all levels, internally, externally, physically, mentally, emotionally. Non-acceptance of our true nature causes the greatest suffering. So by not understanding, again, acceptance requires understanding and awareness. By not understanding and not being aware of who we are, and Dada has taught us who we are, when we have come out of that, this is where we are experiencing the greatest amount of suffering. It's chronic. And so what Dada has said is, as long as somebody is not accepted and hence avoided, men, women, or worse than that, who we've not accepted, they will be put in our path until ultimately we learn to accept all uniqueness of human beings. And I thought this quote was so beautiful, because basically it's saying that acceptance is a teacher. It's always teaching us a lesson, and pay attention to those that you don't accept, freely and gracefully with equanimity. They're there to teach you something. Dada has said that the non-acceptance of death is the strongest form of non-acceptance. Much of our suffering, much of our, behaviors as human beings is often around denying, or not denying, but avoiding the fact that we are going to die. And so many of the behaviors and things is clinging to, material objects, or, things like that, avoiding death. It's all eventually to free us from that pain of the death of ego. So our actions, our behaviors, a lot of what we do as human beings is to look at avoiding the pain that one day we will be no more. We don't even realize we're doing it. We don't actively think about that. I'm afraid I'm going to die. That's why. But the ego is actually what is dying, and the body, not the soul. The body is dying. And so I wanted to share this quote from Bhagavad Gita, that the soul is never born nor dies at any time. Soul has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. The soul is unborn and eternal, ever existing and primeval. Soul is not slain when the body is slain. And so again, that is talking about the acceptance of who you truly are. You will then realize that death is just another transformative process like birth. It's just something that happens. It's an event. And you will no longer have that resistance or non-acceptance of death. So very quickly, we can talk a little bit about how to cultivate acceptance. one of the best ways is frequent and objective introspection. You can do this in multiple ways. You can even just do a scan to say, where am I feeling resistance about, maybe it's a particular person or a situation that I have such a negative opinion about. You explore that. I urge you to explore, why you may have that and what is your obstacle into accepting the situation as it is. Things like mindfulness meditation, vipassana meditation can often help us objectively identify emotions, thoughts that are coming up, to get us in that practice of just saying, just see what's coming up, just observe. You're not, neutrally observe. Understanding the root cause of suffering. So when you come to webinars, satsang, things like that, this becomes reinforced, that understanding the root cause of suffering. When you start to understand, then you can go back and apply in your frequent and objective introspection. Another way to cultivate acceptance is just observing impermanence within our daily lives, looking at relationships, circumstances, maybe physical experiences, just even things like hunger, fatigue, emotional states, observing those, and that they really, once you accept them, they say it takes about 90 seconds for you to feel a feeling. But most of the time, people don't want to feel that feeling. They don't want to accept that discomfort. And so they fight it and they resist it and they do other things to overcome or avoid it. But if you actually just felt and accepted for that 90 seconds, you are able to just kind of process out whatever that emotion is. And most things like food cravings and stress, you may get it repeatedly throughout the day, but if you actually sit with it for just 90 seconds, they have done studies to say that actually helps, cultivate that act of acceptance. And then as over time, as you experience those emotions, they won't have that same effect on you. The feeling also subsides, or the effect of that emotion. And then finally, cultivation of acceptance really comes through applying knowledge and teaching. So things that we've learned in these webinars, such as the one who suffers is at fault. Everyone is correct according to their viewpoint. Understanding who is suffering. When you sort of sit and reflect on one of those topics, and truly look at, where do I fall short? Do I really apply this in my life? Do I really look at everybody and say, they are faultless and the one who suffers at fault? No, I don't. Honestly, I make a lot of mistakes throughout the day. So again, it's the practice of going back and looking at, I have not accepted this. I have not accepted this statement. When you really do accept it is when you will see things begin to change in your internal and external world. And finally, I just wanted to add one kind of, when I think of acceptance, I think of Lord Shiva, and I wanted to sort of bring this together because in many different stories and things that he has really embodied a lot of the practices that we talked about today in this session. So when you look at Lord Shiva and you look at the principle of acceptance, you look at the fact that he is holding all the poison of the world in his throat. I can't think of a more vivid example of acceptance of that, enduring that with just openness and compassion, but just holding that there. So he is able to take in all the good and all the bad. He endured insults from his own father-in-law, you know, in his relationships, he endured insults and disrespect and things like that. It even resulted in the death of his first wife, Sati, you know, and he mourned her loss. He walked around and, you know, was carrying her corpse. He was mourning. So he experienced some, not to say he experienced, but he had these types of things that we in life also face, you know, great pain. Maybe you're insulted, disrespected by family, these types of things. But if you think about him, we always think of him in that, you know, his eyes are half closed. He's in that pure acceptance. He is just taking it all in, the good, the bad. His wedding procession, when he was getting married to Princess Parvati, you know, he came in a wedding procession with demons and ghosts and deformed, all types of people. And the thing that he is known for is that all people, he accepts all prayers from whoever they are, whether look at their physical form, their mental state, whatever it is. If you do pray to him, he accepts all prayers. And so that's where, again, he accepts all who come to him. And that is, again, you know, accepting different people and beliefs, viewpoints. It goes back to that principle. He's always known for having harmonious marriage, you know, accepting his wife as his equal. And again, that acceptance, having harmony in your family life, acceptance is a state of harmony. And again, he's always been known as easy to forgive, accepting prayers from everyone, no matter what kind of mistake they've made. And so again, it's like he not only embodies acceptance, but he showers that on all of us. So now I'm going to conclude the presentation and just wanted to thank you all. And we can, Uncle, open it up to discussions, questions, and answers. But I just really wanted to thank you for the opportunity to explore this topic and then share findings with all of you. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from you in the discussion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rani Krishnan. What a thought-provoking and a lot of deep research was evident in this entire presentation. Thanks a lot. That's really marvelous. And I'm very, very thankful to technology that we have recording of this presentation. Now, I would like to request all the participants, please open up. And if you have any query or if you have to add something, please. Shailamulji ma'am.
Jai Sachidanand to
Jai
everybody.
Sachidanand.
Rani, that was a profound presentation, and hats off to you. It really sits in my heart. Just beautiful, and so much depth of understanding and research, and the way that it was presented was awesome. Really, really appreciate it. I did want to share something that might be helpful to relay the power of acceptance. I was fortunate in 2019, Param Pujya Kanu Dadaji was in the Los Angeles area, and our youngest son came to me and he said, "Mom, you know, you've been doing heavy lifting for so many years. What would you do right now if you could do anything?" And I had experienced some a trauma that really helped me to embrace Dadaji's teachings. And so as a result, I had gotten involved in urban Zen integrative therapy. And so I said, you know, I'd really love to do this 300-hour certificate, you know, and learn from these people who know how to do this. And so I fortunately met with Kanu Dadaji by chance in April of 2019 in Moore Park at Arvind Bhai's place. And we were just talking, and he said, so what's happening right now? I said, well, I'm doing this integrative certificate. And he got so excited, and he was giving so many blessings to embrace this certificate. So I was encouraged, because normally, Dadaji, he doesn't always encourage everything. But when I was involved in yoga, he kind of pulled me away from it, that this is not a Kriya Marg. But for some reason, he really embraced the Urban Zen Integrative Therapy program. So I felt like in his presence, I had the opportunity to go through this teaching. And so, speaking of acceptance, when I had to do my clinical hours at UCLA in the intensive care unit, there were patients who were on respirators, post-chemo, Lou Gehrig's disease. My first patient was a Lou Gehrig's, and she was completely in a vegetative state. But what I found was that with Dadaji's grace and what he's given to us, utilizing these mindfulness exercises such as body awareness and breath awareness and restorative yoga poses and things of that nature with patients whose vitals were highly escalated, they were highly agitated, they were in a state of extreme pain and suffering. The impacts of utilizing these practices were profound. And your presentation, Rani, on acceptance just illuminated why it was so impactful, is because there was a complete acceptance of what was happening right at that moment and bringing them to that present moment. And I could share so many stories, but I just wanted to thank you for putting together this presentation. I will be sharing this with so many of the people that I'm connected to, because I think it's so relevant and so helpful at the present time. So Jai Satchidanand to everybody.
Jai Satchidanand. Thank you very much, Shaila ma'am.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Shaila, for sharing that. And yes, I benefited so much from I chose this topic because I knew that I need to work on cultivating that acceptance. So it's been an opportunity to learn and kind of, do some experiments with this. So yeah, I'm very grateful. Thank you for sharing.
Ms. Rani, can we say that those who believe in the law of karma, they can exercise this acceptance easily?
Yes, Uncle. I think honestly that is our biggest non-acceptance, is we don't fully accept or embrace the law of karma. Like, we may understand it or we may rationally understand, but I feel like our suffering comes because we don't accept it.
Exactly.
Oh.
And your presentation reminded me of one incident which I would like to share immediately. In a society where I used to stay, I found it very difficult to accept one person who used to stay in my neighboring apartment. I didn't like his face, his way of talking, the way he used to collect the maintenance per month. And I would say, oh God, please, I don't want to see this man. And you know what happened? Every day he would stand in front of me, not only in apartment, but also outside in the marketplace. So that time I was not in touch with HSRC. Now, later when Lalabhai Patel sir has taught this acceptance, I realized, my God, it was my fault. Later I changed it and I accepted it anyhow with a little adjustment. And things really happened quite well. We have Lalabhai Patel sir also with us. I would like to request him to have concluding comments and his remarks. Lala sir. Please unmute yourself, Lala sir.
So,
The voice is not audible. Please unmute.
hello.
Yes, now clear, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Rani and everybody, this was a nice presentation. And if you remember, this was the very first topic. This is the very first topic in this book, Secrets of Holistic Living. It serves its purpose. And one insight I got, Rani, from this session, you shared this Dr. Richard Dawkins, his map, that is acceptance, 17 levels of consciousness, right? And I calculated everything, and I found, say, out of the 17 steps, we can say, of the spiritual advancement, we can say in any, this comes to a 12th level. So that means you transcended the preceding levels of shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness, and then come to the level of acceptance. So acceptance is a great thing, right? This is what I could understand, and it was a nice presentation, definitely, because see, once you trust the nature, Mother Nature, Mother Nature never does injustice to anybody. For Mother Nature, every living being is her child. So there is no question of injustice from Mother Nature. And that itself, accepting the law of the Mother Nature's being just, that helps us in improving our score on acceptance, right? So this is what I would like to say, and so nice, you have prepared it well, and as you said, that all of us know that teaching is the best way of learning. So by teaching this topic, you also told us that you have also learned a lot, and you also helped everyone to learn this very, very important topic. And one more point comes to my mind is, as you talked about law of karma, right? So certain laws, these are not made by me or anybody or even Lord Krishna. Okay, this is a fact. Okay, so from time immemorial, perpetual truth, and I'd say part of nature itself. So the sooner is better to accept this law of karma as explained by enlightened beings like Dada Bhagwan, Dadaji, Lord Krishna. That helps us a lot. Otherwise, by undergoing the turmoils and agonies, we'll have to learn at certain point of time, right? So that is, then it becomes like a reinventing the wheel. The law of karma was already there, but because of your non-acceptance, you have undergone so many agonies, and then it makes you thinking, and that also it is said to be nature's purpose. That person, ultimately, if you see all the 17 levels of consciousness, ultimately you see at 12th, it comes a 12th step is a acceptance. So a person gradually goes on developing. It's a sign of development. Acceptance is a sign of development, and then follows the other levels like love and all these things. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. So many people have joined. I would invite others also to contribute. Right? Still, we have 10 minutes. Right, Chandrakantji. Now you are muted.
So may I invite Dr. Iti Dayal from Haridwar? Dr. Iti Dayal. This topic was really, my God, very profound.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Dr. Iti Dayal. Yeah,
Namaste.
audible you are.
Namaste, sir. Namaskar to all of the participants.
Namaste.
Today's session was really very valuable for the spiritual seekers like us, because this is the science of acceptance, and when we implement it in our lives, it become an art. It become a very precious art of living, and I think it is the basic step towards spiritual evolution. And this law of acceptance, I think it will bring much clarity into our thought process, and will bring clarity in our activities and thoughts. So we have to learn a lot about how to apply this science of acceptance into our lives. So today, ma'am has given a great thrust to our endeavors for our spiritual transformation. So I'm really very thankful and grateful to ma'am who taught us this important science of this acceptance, law of acceptance, to bring law of acceptance. Sorry, sir. I'm not at home, hence there is some disturbance. So I'm really very thankful to ma'am. Although I was not at home, I was outside, but I didn't miss even one single line of this
Well,
important.
it is recorded on YouTube, so we will share the YouTube link. Once
Yes.
again, we can enjoy the entire session.
I think I will this presentation for rest of my life. It's really important. After my son will grow up, I would like him also to go through all these presentations. So I am learning at this age. My son will learn at a much earlier age these things. So this is not my one of my privilege that I have got from HSRC, and I'm really very thankful to the entire team.
Thank you very much. That was Dr. Iti Dayal from Haridwar, the pious land from India. Thank you very much, ma'am. Anybody else, if any queries there, or if any difficulty, if any question?
Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Sachidanand, welcome. Nimesh
No,
ji
please.
and Vinal Patel, ma'am, please.
Really, really excellent presentation. Thank you so much. I think everybody already expressed so much gratitude for this really amazing presentation. There's one area I always had difficulty in this concept. I think the concept in general of acceptance, it completely resonates with me. But, and we also know that ultimately we don't have any power. Power is with Vivashtit Shakti. So that makes sense to me. But I know Dadaji has also said there's a saying that was shared with us about, and somebody can correct me, I'm to my best of my memory, I'll say it. To speak is a fault, but to not speak is a double fault. I've heard this one.
Yeah.
And I have trouble reconciling that with the acceptance, because then if you're, it's again going to the justice question. Everything is justice, and we often see injustice in the world. So when we see these things, what are we to do? Do we accept them, or are we supposed to act, even though ultimately we know we don't have the power to act? But hopefully I'm articulating my question well. How to reconcile these concepts of acceptance and at the same time to not speak as a double fault.
Yes, Dr. Nimesh, this one thing comes to my mind. You have raised a valid point. See, acceptance comes not for the future. It relates to, as I understand, what has happened till the last moment. So you immediately say, once things have happened, you immediately reconcile as early as possible and do not live in a hangover of those things which have already happened. So, and in that context, even that you have already spoken also. You see, it will come on its own, right? But when you speak with this conviction, say, sometimes you are in a role of speaking. Like suppose you are an administrator, you have the role of instructions. But this is not to be, acceptance is something which I understand based upon my long experience in execution of things and administration, that is to be kept in your heart, not to be spoken out. So here, not speaking is very much useful. Okay, speaking is a double fault here. Suppose you are a manager. If you declare this, that I accept everything, okay, it will create a chaos, right? But once an accident has happened and you accept, and that gives your staff, the people whom you are managing, they then realize your patience and everything, because at the core of your heart, you have an understanding of acceptance, whatever has happened, despite doing everything, including telling. Okay, telling was also a part of that, no? So this is how there is a delicate balance. You have rightly said, you have to carve out. It is not that you accept everything, because you see, here also the author of Secrets of Holistic Living is right that over acceptance is also reactionary, and it reacts in a horrible way, right? So because you accept everything because of only or maybe of a docile nature, right? Or you don't give a thought to anything, right? So this way, this is not there. Where your role is of speaking, you speak out and still accept what happens, even after speaking out, right? No? So this is how I think something just it happens.
Thank you. Thank you.
I became first time the manager. I asked somebody, okay, what is my role? No, some senior person. He said, you'll have to speak and speak. Okay. This is not done. This is not done. This is not done. You see, right? That is a rule. But that time I was blessed by Dada Bhagwan. That I knew this acceptance. But again, I had to do this, right? But it had a very good impact on all subordinates and everything. That okay, because it's a realistic concept. Reality, no? You accept the reality. Right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Dada sir. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Or here the bell goes. And let us conclude that this session has definitely explored us many things that will change our lives and our attitude.
We'll accept that time has come.
Yeah. Let this acceptance come to us for our family members, our neighbors, our society, our country, religions, and as Madam has shown in the slides, in all the slides, it's a beautiful presentation. Thank you very much once again, Miss Rani Krishnan. We are very much indebted to you for this wonderful presentation. And thank you very much, all the participants.
Hello,
Please,
sir. Sir,
yeah,
good evening, sir. I want to say something.
yeah, Prajakta Miss.
No, Nilima ma'am.
Nilima ma'am, please, please.
Sir, please share YouTube link. No, today due to some reason I have not able to join from starting itself. So
Definitely,
please,
definitely. YouTube
yes,
link
sir.
will be shared. The entire presentation is in recording. We
Yes,
will
sir. Yes, sir.
definitely
Thank
share.
you. Sir. Thank you,
Fine,
sir.
fine. So goodbye, good night.
Hello,
Take
sir.
good care of
Can I
yourself.
speak for 2 minutes?
Yeah, please take.
Okay. Thank you. Jai Sachidanand all. Good evening all. Thank you very much, ma'am. Today's topic was wonderful, very, very wonderful. And one sentence, I like it very much. Whatever happens, it happens for good. So whatever problem will come automatically after remember this sentence again and again, automatically it will go. And thank you very much, ma'am. And Chandrakant sir, thank you very much to you also because you shared that experience about one man you didn't like. So really this is a wonderful experience, wonderful sentence for me. So in my life also, if anybody is there now, so I will not think about that. Just okay, it's okay, and accept it and go ahead. So thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank
That's
you.
very fine.
Thank you.
Please do take good care of yourselves, all of you, and do join the next topic that will be equally interesting. Human life, a crossroad. Okay? Do come back. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Thank you very much.
Jai
Have a very good
Sachidanand.
time.
Jai Sachidanand.
Jai Sachidanand.
Jai
Sachidanand.
Sachidanand.
Yes,
Jai
Sachidanand.
Sachidanand.